It's another beautiful day here in Santa Cruz, and I've decided that I'm going to go to Güímar today to look at the pyramids there. And that way I'll catch up everyone who's watching this on the places that I've already been, and it'll be a good start to the rest of the explorations that will be taking place this week. There seems to be some kind of communist revolution taking place. I guess this is some sort of government building. Not really sure. So, the Guanche people that I was showing you yesterday were the native inhabitants of Tenerife at the time of Spanish conquest in the 1400s. They were not a political unity. There were 9 or 10 divisions along the island. Each one was called Menseyato because the local king of that area was called a Mensei. One of the most important Menseyatos was that of Güímar, and I am now in the town of Güímar. It's in a valley that's surrounded on 2 sides by steep mountains, and here in Güímar we have one of the interesting tourist locations of the island. That's the pyramids of Güímar. I'm going to go and show you what's up with that, explain the site a little bit. Thor Heyerdahl was a Norwegian explorer who was obsessed with the idea of trans-oceanic pre-Columbian contact, that the civilizations of Africa and Europe and Asia had contact with the Americas and so on. And to prove this theory, in 1947 he built a very large ship, which I'll show you in a second, out of reeds, out of quite a basic construction, and he was able to cross from Polynesia to South America in what became known as the Kon-Tiki expedition. And there's a film that's made about this expedition that is quite famous and quite interesting, and I recommend that you watch it. Heyerdahl believed that the pyramids of Mesoamerica and of ancient Egypt and Polynesia, even the stone mountains of America, all were built by the same people. He noted some other things such as sun worship and mummification, trepanation, other cultural practices that were in common, but mostly he found the structure of the pyramids to be interesting. In 1990, he found out about the structures here at Güímar, and he bought the land. They said that there were 9 pyramids here, now there are only 6. There's another one over there. Though, actually, it's a bit more complicated than that. All of the land here in Güímar and in the rest of Tenerife in general, in many cities and cultivated areas, has these kind of step platforms. It's a technique that's used because of the volcanic landscape. There's volcanic rocks that are flung forth from the volcano because of the eruption, and they're just spread all over the island. So if you want to use any of the land, you have to do something with the rocks. So there's lots of stone walls, there's some cairns, which are piles of rocks that are made when you're clearing a field, and so on. But these are unusual because of their alignment to a certain astronomical phenomenon. This is the Ra 2, the ship that Mr. Heyerdahl built, and sailed upon. So the first thing that should be pointed out is that these pyramids aren't exactly pyramids. They don't have the same shape as the pyramids in Egypt or those in Central America, which have that classical pyramid shape that we all know and love. These are platforms. They're ziggurats, sort of. They're long, they're elongated. They don't have one regular structure, and they're not even the same width at both ends. And there's a reason for that. Directly behind me, you can see that there are 3 pyramids, and that they're wider at one end than the other. So this forms a sort of trapezoid. And that forms 2 lines that are aligned with 2 different things. One is the sunrise on the winter solstice, which is actually today, and the other is the sunset on the summer solstice, which is June 21st, and that was the last time I was here. So if you're standing on the central platform, the main platform of the pyramids, if you're standing there on June 21st and you look at one of the lines that's created, that's indicated by these pyramids, it points directly at a mountain peak, which you can't see right now because it's currently covered in clouds. And that's where the sun sets on the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. And that's really important for the Guanche people, because that's how they would tell time. That's how they would figure out when a new year began, when to plant crops, when the seasons changed. Normally they kept track of the time by counting the months, by looking at the moon. And when there's a full moon, it's a new month. But there's 28 days in a lunar cycle, and it doesn't match up with a solar cycle. So if you do that, you're going to get lost, unless you know when the solstice is. Alright, this is a little bit harder to demonstrate. I'm now at the main platform, standing perpendicular to the summer solstice alignment. And here you can see the steps of the pyramid point over there. And that's where the sun is going to be setting later today, on this winter solstice. It's going to set right about where that astronomical... No, that's a telephone. And as I go around, there's another line here that points to the sunrise on the winter solstice. And there are just a bunch of other lines that all either point to where the sun rises or sets on certain days. Some of them point to other mountain peaks up there. Some of the other lines all point to mountain peaks up there. And they don't only point to mountain peaks, because we're in a valley. There's mountain peaks on all sides. But the mountain peaks that they point to are ones where the sun sets on a certain day of the year. So there's a certain range. The sun sets there on the winter solstice today, and it sets there on the summer solstice. And it sets in between those 2 points throughout the year. That's the limited range of the sun. And the pyramids except for one, all point to spots in that range, meaning that they're built with some astronomical purpose in mind, which seems pretty clear to me and to Mr. Heindel. Though the archaeologists of Tenerife, they say that this is all just part of typical 19th century agricultural techniques, that these pyramids were built by farmers to clear the land because they wanted to plant grapes and things like that to make wine. After a lot of debate about the astronomical alignments and such, the opinion that it's just simply an agricultural product has changed a little bit. There are two researchers who say that it is in fact both. It's an astronomically significant place, some sort of celestial observatory, but also was built by a farmer in the 19th century who owned this land. And they say he was a Freemason. That's in some records, and they say that he built it this way to be in accordance with, his Masonic beliefs. However, the alignment of the sun to the mountains, I don't know if that's a Freemason belief, but I know that for sure that is a Guanche belief, and that's been found in many Guanche archaeological sites all over the island and on other islands, that for the Guanches, determining the solstice was very important, and lots of ritualistic sites all across the Canary Islands are built in this manner, with some indication of where the sun goes down or rises on solstice days. Here's another pyramid. I believe it points at a mountain, but a mountain peak, but I can't see that right now because of the clouds. Here's another pyramid. This one also points at a mountain peak that falls within the bounds of the sunsets of the summer and winter solstices. As you can see, they're quite long, and they're made that way because they're meant to point at something. And it seems actually that the long sides of the pyramid point at the summer solstice points, the longest day of the year, and these short sides point at where the sun sets on the winter solstice, and that's the shortest day of the year. So there's really a pretty clear logic to that. The staircase is quite interesting too. It was walled up and hidden and discovered later. Expedition number 5, which I was not there for, but was done by another member of the team, took place on that hill that's by the sea, and that's a volcano. And on certain days, you can watch the sun. I believe it's summer solstice, but I am not sure at the moment. I believe you can watch the sun coming out from the peak of that volcano. And behind that volcano is the island of Gran Canaria, which can be seen on a clear day, but is not visible today. So over there you can see some piles of rocks and terrace platforms that are ubiquitous on Tenerife. And you can see that these piles of rocks were made as they were creating the steps, the terraces for farming, and that's a typical Canarian agricultural technique that's a necessity of the volcanic landscape. However, you can see that those piles of rocks look quite different from these piles of rocks, notwithstanding that these have been cleaned up quite a bit. Yeah, this looks about as bizarre on my camera as it does in real life. Right now, it's illuminating the peak where I believe the sun will set later today on the winter solstice. So that's it for the pyramids of Güímar. Where is it? Well, no, obviously it's not. I wouldn't have said it that way if that was the end of the story. That would be silly. So I found some other interesting piles of rocks in Güímar after doing lots of research on Google Earth, looking at historic satellite photos and whatnot. And some of them have a bit of a LiDAR effect, and you can see what hills are new and what have been there for the last 20 years. And I've found some mounds that seem to have some resemblance to the pyramids of Güímar, and I haven't seen mentioned anywhere else. So I'm going to go take a look at those and see what's up. It's pretty exciting, actually. Alrighty, well, here we have some interesting mounds. I can't tell if it's stepped or not, and if it was, it might have been collapsed by now. But you can see there's quite some high piles of stones, and I'm going to go look at that one right now. So there's some school children shouting at me. Hey, hey, how are you guys? Great. All right, they should probably be learning. I won't distract them. Here's some very interesting piles of rocks, and over there are some more. And there's more down there as well. They're playing some sort of salsa music now. I guess that's some kind of school. I don't know. So yeah, I found it. There's another pyramid here. As you can see, it's stepped and elongated like the one in Güímar. There's some other structures too. You can see that one collapsed a little bit. This one too on one end. Though you can see the steps are there in rough shape. It's pretty cool. There's a few more of them. I think. I'll go check it out. You're in pyramid country when you hear the dogs barking. I'm trying to look at that thing from the other side, and it looks like there's steps from here too. But I can't really see so well. Alright, here it is. So I've got quite some... there's a lot of platforms, like random platforms all over the Canaries. And I always wonder if any of those were older platforms that have just been paved over. Probably, because they probably didn't just build this platform so that there could be nothing in it. So, oops, dogs. Here's another kind of pile of something underneath all those cactuses, and another one here. And this points in the direction of that one that I was standing at earlier. Kind of hard to see what's going on, though. This one is partially collapsed on this side. You can see over here that it has steps. And it's quite tall. It's much taller than I am. It's a strange shape. I can't really see what's going on the other side of this wall, so that's why I'll use my stick. Some real experimental archaeology. Pretty slippery. Oh. Okay. Here's this pyramidal platform. And there's some walls and other stacks of rocks over there. them stable. Okay. On. There's the other side of that one I just went to. So, there seem to be more structures. I believe. Where is it? Yeah, they're kind of inaccessible though. There's all kinds of fences and walls and stuff. Oh, let's see what's here. So yeah, there's a lot of structures here that are difficult to film. The main one is that one that I saw over there. I'm surrounded by walls and stuff. Some of them seem more modern than others. Some of them seem more pyramidal than others. Mostly they're just really difficult to get to and to observe on the ground. Pretty difficult to observe from the air too, because they're all overgrown with cactuses and shit. There's another structure. Okay, I can't get to the ones I really wanted to see, but I'm seeing quite some interesting stuff anyway. This is a cistern used to collect rainwater. Okay, I got to another one. This one's kind of funny, as you can see. It's at the end of the street and currently being used like a dumpster. Has steps, as you can see. There's a car parked in it. There were some steps there. It looks partially collapsed. It's actually enormous. Let's see if I can get to the top. Yeah, and goes pretty far on the other side. Has some more steps over there. And on this side, yeah, some more steps. Actually, there's steps going all around it. As you can see, it's wow, this is bigger than anything at the actual pyramid site, the tourist site, I mean. That's pretty cool. Okay. Holy cow. So you can see it has steps going all around. Well, I'll be damned. That's a nice one. Nice pyramid. This thing is massive. It's hard to see where it starts because it's all overgrown down there, but that could be 20 meters. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty great. That's funny. All of these are in Güímar, which was a population center since pre-Hispanic times. So now there's a city built around them, and a lot of them are just at the end of alleyways and stuff. All right, so that's I don't know, 2, 3 pyramids I found here so far in Güímar. I think I found 3, which is interesting because they say at the museum that there were 9 and they only have 6, so there's 3 missing ones. Well, 1 second, let's go see what's going on over there. Okay, 4 pyramids, 5 pyramids, 10 pyramids. Only I know how many pyramids I found today, and I'm too lazy to count right now. No, I think it was like 3 or 4. There's a bunch of other structures that really look like this sort of agricultural stone cleaning structures from the 19th century. Though some of them are steps. I don't know if they align to anything. This requires further analysis. But these are nice pyramids off the beaten track. Yeah, so maybe there are more pyramids, but fuck it, I'm tired. I'm gonna get a drink here.